Well, as we're sitting here at LTV on this beautiful afternoon, rainy, though actually very beautiful weather, on Monday afternoon, September 18th, year 2023, here at the Hello Hello Show. And my name is Haim Mizrahi, continuing with the tradition of public access and the tradition of the Hello Hello Show that's been on the air since 1980. Of course, not to fail to mention the contribution by Fraser Dougherty that actually passed away about 3 weeks ago at the ages of 101, and the contribution by Francis Ann and a huge group of followers such as yourselves out there and make it your business to enhance and fortify the concept of public access as you should and as you do. And lucky for us that we can actually become a part of the effort, even though public access has a way of allowing itself to be at ease while it devotes itself to the idea of materializing the option of speaking your mind in the hearts of people and in the minds of people. And people will use their mind to free their mind in order to arrive at the doorstep of expression that is clean from the residues of the usual oppression that takes place in many parts of the world. So it's so easy to feel good about ourselves. There's so many things that we can actually look at, experience, realize that we have it, that we own it, that we improve it, that we use it, that we allowed to use it, that we're encouraged to use it, and to bring about a body of expression that amounts to be something meaningful with a beginning, a middle, and an end. But as an artist, it's easy for me to sit here and to. Um, I love my hat. Actually, it's good. I usually don't sit here with a hat or cap or whatever, but for some reason it kind of holds my head in a position where it's just kind of putting, keeping in place the ideas so they won't jump out of my head and disappear. It's easy for me to sit here and to reflect and to reminisce, and while I'm doing it, to verbalize my deposits of you know of that which I really want to share with and to interact with people, and that's the material that I want to send forth. And and maybe in more ways than one, I wish that I could have had a person like me 25 years ago when I first started painting paintings to tell me or what to do and what not to do in so many shortcuts that are available, but the person who just begins and starts doesn't have a clue of their existence and doesn't have a clue of the fact that it's an okay thing to use shortcuts and to it's an okay thing to make the process itself to become more friendly, and one doesn't have to really suffer too much when is in the midst and in the heart of the creative process. I always thought that pain that is associated with just being an artist, like a price to be paid, I always thought that it's a part of the equation until I realized that it's not. And I realized it by observing other painters, regardless of whether they're good or not, whether they're talented or not. It's just the fact that they keep up with a face expression and allow it to thrive and to understand the importance of that contribution that it has on the creative process, that it pretty much as a condition stands as a condition for anything creative to happen in our lives, that will result itself in becoming a musical composition or a poem or a painting, of course. So it's easier for me to sit back here as an artist than to say, okay, here, let me speak my piece, and then realizing that as an artist, I just I the, the story itself is always in motion. So if I was to sit here for an hour, I would just take that block that is worth 1 hour and just externalize it. And I'm there. I don't even have to think about whether it's going to be good or bad, whether I can make it or not, because I come with the attitude that it is what it is. And it is what it is. I mean it in a serious fashion. I mean it that actually uh, there is a. Let me see if I can put my headphones. I seem to be thinking smarter when I have headphones on. Let's see. Hello? Oh my god. Oh my god. This is actually so different, but it's easy for me to sit back here as an artist and to say, I can do this. I can summarize that, I can summarize the is and the isn't, the will and the want, the yes and the no. I can uh, create that composition that will be in place that has a very unique voice of its own self, and that it will never deny you space while you venture and you, for any reason in the world, end up in the territory of that thing, that it, that uh, object that it has everything to do with meaning and more meaning, and you stand next to it and you want to be close to it and you want to remain close to it. It just felt like scratching my ear, but then I realized I couldn't do that. I have to do that and that. I'm actually experimenting with these headphones now. So I try as hard as I can not to use the word journey. I'm not always successful. And why is that? I remember Steve Sedering, who was my mentor about 35 years ago, and she looked at me and I was like so frightened. I was maybe mid to late 20s. And she read some of the stuff that I wrote, and she said, and she looked at me, and I wasn't sure whether it was a look of pity or a look of appreciation, of respecting your courage and your bravery. And but she kept to herself for quite a while, and then she looked and she said, there's certain things that you're better off putting aside and referring from using certain words unless there's a really good reason why you want to do that. And then she gave me a list of a dozen words. And I said, my God, she's robbing me of the dozen words that make the most important words in my vocabulary of prose and poetry. Then I realized how right she was, because just thinking this way showed me how I rely and depend on a very limited group of words in order to express myself. And I never thought that there's anything, not that there was anything wrong. It's just that if you read someone's poetry and he's in this situation on this level, then his poetry will be pretty much sounding the same at some point. It was some, like they say, the same lady uh, with many dresses and robes. And so she gave me some exercises. I went home and she robbed me of a dozen words that I usually use a lot. And that was a nice introduction to, I would say, the world of surrealism. You know, how I was introduced to surrealism is through certain individuals that weren't aware that actually that's what they're doing to me. And since I was observant and eager and hungry for that, I took everything seriously. I took everything to heart. I vowed to make a difference by using every suggestion, every referral, every criticism, every attention, every relation that is in my power to act upon really the generosity of other people that want to really to tell you, you know, this might be better for you. Might be a good idea for you to venture into. This would be maybe good for you to read. This may, you know, things like that. And you know, so for me, lucky for me, it was that early on uh, I was attentive enough to always come home with the deposits of material that I automatically made a point to decide that it's important, and that I take it home. And then when I come to my studio, this is the field, the ground, the stage upon which I utilize this wonderful material that in the morning I didn't have available. But just imagine when you do that every day. When you read all these books of self-help, you know, they wake up in the morning, they talk about your routine, they talk about how to change your routine. I heard many wonderful suggestions by many sensitive and smart and bright people about what's good for you, what you should or shouldn't do, and all this. But no one really tells you how to do it, other than, oh, think about, oh, make a decision. You know, when you speak of someone who smokes 40 cigarettes a day, 2 packs a day, and it's been already 20 to 30 years, you cannot approach this individual and say, listen, you're so much better off dumping this crap, this poison, brushing it off out of your path, out of your life, become healthier. And people from the other side would look at you and probably they'll agree with you, but they'll say, okay, well, do you want to tell me how exactly I'm going to do that? How exactly, other than what we already know, the one needs to do? So if you take 0.0001 of the population of those who do drugs and smoke cigarettes or whatever, yeah, that few can really decide and make it happen. And so many of these suggestions of self-help and all this to tell you about what is it that you need to change, but nobody really gives you any idea of how you're going to go about it in order to make it happen. So what they do is they have you undress yourself, and then they leave you, and then you're naked, and then you're not quite sure what just happened, and then you remain naked because you think, well, maybe this is the point of my embarkment. And what they did is help me to rid myself of the clothing, and now it's up to me. But no one left any information or any instructions behind before they left. Anyway, so what I'm trying to say, I look at people around me, and what I see is our community. I see our neighborhood. I don't have to relate even to the state of New York or the United States of America or Long Island, even for that sake. You know, that kind of your quarters, your community. You look at them, you see the replica of your nation. And regardless, if you think of Long Island and you think of the southern neighborhoods of Los Angeles, or you think about, you know, the heart of San Francisco, or you know, the suburbs of Chicago, or whatever. It they all share the same kind of face expression, and a basic wittiness that comes along with the level of intelligence that, on top of what your surrounding is allowing you to do and making it easier for you to do, you bring your talent and your ideas and your power, intelligent power into the equation. And the combination is, of course, inevitably an incredible one. So yeah, I mean, I can sit here for the next whatever time that I have available, and as an artist, and shed myself on the the so many coats of the um, temptation slash obsession slash um, devotion slash persistence slash an accumulating desire, an accumulated points of reference that stay in place waiting for your awareness to come to life and therefore demand their usage, and on top of all of that, just a sight that brings joy to your life when you acknowledge its existence, and then you see and you say, wow, this is actually my backyard. This is actually my backyard. It's incredible to think this is my backyard, and this backyard is really the big world out there. And the big world out there is the big world that's just a couple of feet away from you. And and you want to see how it is that it can serve you by way of being material, legitimate material that will be a part of the deposits and a part of the merchandise that will be needed in that process of creativity, the artistic process that you chose to take part of. And then suddenly it is you, you are, it is, and it's just like you can't tell the difference anymore because you're so embedded into that process that you said, might as well, I can do anything really pretty much now. Just like surrealism tells you, let me encourage you, give you a nice kick and a nice push so you can find yourself in some kind of a center, a new center, unprepared. And you really know no fear. You know no fear. You know no fear. You fear not because you know no fear. Surrealism tells you this is how you're going to do it. When you hear the noise and the sounds and the motion and the sound portion of the motion appearing, making itself available and evident, uh, you you I want to use the word graduate. Suddenly you feel like this is graduation process hasn't even started yet, and you're graduating, and it allows you to feel about yourself as far as who you think you are, who you really are, who you are, as you please. There will be no criticism that will meet you halfway and tell you whatever. Um, you can't you can't take that left turn now. No, for your own sake, just continue straight. Or you cannot interfere. I mean, you can, but then you know deep inside you that you're going to put an end to this wonderful unfoldingness, a wonderful process of revelation that will be completely denied access and therefore won't be available as a potential game where you can actually see the choices that it has available for you, that it has to offer to you. Even though you're partly in that reality of ownership, you're a partly owner of something that you actually think as if someone else owns it and you're just taking part by way of someone gives you permission to. But you actually own it together with some other people, some other forces that are taking place. and then now and then you remember it and you enjoy and indulge, but then you realize you have to put an end to it quickly enough because that knowledge is not good for you. Because if you own something, you own something. It's not there's no condition that you need to talk about it or make it public knowledge for it to continue to be yours. So when the exit is instant and abrupt and sudden, even though nothing in the process that you're involved in is sudden. The evolutionary process, as minute as it can be, still is a lengthy one. Um, and it, it depends on your initiation just as much as anything else in life, really. And you know that you know that very well, so you do something about it pretty quickly, or I wouldn't even say quickly or slowly, but you just do it in a timely fashion. The timely fashion will do in a timely fashion. I wonder what they meant when they invented these combination of words in a timely fashion. He's going about it in a timely fashion. I mean, he said, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry about him. Don't worry about what message you're going to hear from him right now in a timely fashion." Did he? Was he available to deliver it and arrive and appear in a timely fashion where everybody would feel that this kind of smoothness is something that wasn't formed by way of planning and contemplating and measuring and weighing and you know scratching your head, thinking out loud? No, no. And so surrealism was that I was pushed into desiring to know what it's all about. You walk around, people talk all about impressionism, expressionism, and the abstract of that expression, in the abstract of that impression in the world of expression, and in the abstract of what is abstract and what abstract can has to do with the impression that leads to an expression, vice versa. Yeah. So I always like when I had discussions with people early on, I would say 25, 30 years ago, and people talked about abstract expressionism. I couldn't tell that from nothing, but I knew what abstract is, and I knew what expressionism from being able to express myself the way I do and the way I could all my life. So I found it very easy for me to blend and to be a part of the discussion. I found that very appealing that actually, if I sit and I say, yeah, I try very hard to get rid of the abstract aspect of the abstract expressionism movement or combination that's supposed to make me feel in a certain way, and thinking that if I'm going to abandon abstract and remain with expressionism, then I will never get to the real bottom of abstract expressionism. And at first I was concerned, and slowly enough I realized, what is there to be exactly concerned about? If you do that I was just speaking of, you actually will be inevitably responsible for creating something completely new. Come to expressionism through expressionism. What does it mean to come and to arrive to expressionism through expressionism itself? So that means you don't need to experiment by introducing abstract as a tool to utilize and materialize and actualize expressionism, or expression as they may say. But expressionism is not only that verbal expressionism. I am, I feel, you, we, they. Hmm. Words, sentence. You you express yourself when actually you're dragged backwards, not in an aggressive fashion, but something wants to keep you where you already are, thinking that this is good for you. And it's good for the forces that are trying to make you stay there because they need you, obviously, and they benefit from something that you has to offer, that you have to offer, and then therefore they're willing to show some muscle. And and you don't mind anything. You don't mind anything at all. You favor everything. Not because you're shallow that you would be okay with going anywhere with whomever at any given time. No, it's because you want to be able to fool around, so to speak, in a preconceived fashion, in a preconceived time that relates to your medium of creation, where you will be actually aware of the extent of the power and the level of inefficiency of these tools at hand, these scenarios around this presence of that which happens to be extremely elaborated, where wasn't even 1 second of an attempt to elaborate or to contemplate or to scratch your hair and make it as if you come across as a thinker. You're puzzled by something. Something is puzzling you. Something is forcing you to go deeper and think. And you realize that actually this is not a big deal to think that you uh, during or after any encounter deserve to freestyle in your abrupt um, abrupt change of mood. And uh, and most people are bright. They look, they say, yes, I agree. Okay, so do you mean that I can now leave with this whole thing full of contents, and I can take it with me, and I can take it with me wherever I need to take it with me, and I can use it, and I can use it? Yeah, you can do that. So now you realize this is it. This is it because your willingness exceeds the obstacles that will prevent you from going about that artistic process or from being granted and allowed to find yourself peeling, uncovering. And that's an incredible feeling when you now. What's really incredible about that, and about just about any other desire in the world by an individual to do something about something, let's do something about it, and you're doing something about it, you're doing more than something, you're doing many things about it, and then the results speak for themselves. So and you're never tired of admiring the process that you chose to take, and that actually um, doesn't take much effort to test it and to feel it and to see how it feels and what it's all about and all of that. I need a second here. Okay, that's not too bad, huh? Uh, okay. I So the example was, I remember my first experimentation, my first experiment after I introduced myself to abstract expression, no, to surrealism. and I read the book by André Breton, The Manifest of Surrealism. I think it was like 1925. And and I was fascinated. I was fascinated that there's someone out there thinking the way I would want to think, the way I think. It's like there was such an appreciation and gratitude to be able to read something that is so familiar to you. It's just that you couldn't do really anything about it because you didn't have any guideline that would make sense from this complexity. Because what was complex about it was that you didn't know how to really go about it in order to utilize it, use it, and come up with results. So they would be so you get to feel the taste of progress, of creating maybe sometimes something out of nothing, and that our society is in such great need of people to be able to just do things without any special excuse and reason or justification. They're just doing and doing, and then they realize every time they do, it's just like it's growing so disproportionately. Now you're talking about good stuff, exciting stuff, meaningful stuff, genuine stuff, and so much more that you do it 5 times, 11 times, 17 times, 25. You do it 50 times and you're a master. 50 times. I realize not that I consider myself a master at anything, even though I can say that I'm a master of many, many things, and it's my own view about my own self. According to my own logic, why wouldn't I be a master? Why wouldn't I be a genius? And why wouldn't I not feel weird about thinking that I am or am not genius, that I am or am not sophisticated? Who cares? I should be the only one to care and react and behave according to how I feel that I should when it comes to myself, me, myself, and I. And this is not a play of words. This is the epitome of what this world stands to lose if I was to be complacent. Because we're talking about 500 million like me out of 8 billion that believe that the world needs us, and that believe that if we decide to write a poem or to play on a solo on a piano or any percussion or anything, only things that can be trivial and almost pathetic, but you do that. And for example, when I practice on the drums, when I work, uh, let's say if I do 10-15 minute routine, I feel so powerful that it actually disturbs me to think that I can gain so much power in such a short time. Now, if I do 10 sessions of 10 to 15 minutes, which is an hour and a half all the way up to 2 hours and a half, that's all I'm speaking of. I'm speaking of a span of 2 hours and taking two breaks, which are like 3 to 5 minutes long. And all you do is playing on pads and some electric drums or acoustic drum set, whatever it is. You do your thing. Then you see in a very good positive way the disproportion of growth and process and progress that's taking place. And all you're doing is really just pretty much continuing to play and playing with yourself. The kind of unique head games that you put in place to yourself, and that you know its nature so much so that you know what it's going to do, what it's not going to do, you know what it's going to prevent, what it was not going to prevent, how it is going to go about ABC, how it is not going to go about ABC, if it's having fun or not, if he is content, if he or she feel belong, if they belong. That's incredible to think. Do they belong? Are we? Are we belong? Do we belong? What part of it is ours? What part of it that is it that we borrow? What part of it is guaranteed to us, and what part of it is actually acknowledging the fact that it's in our hands and its fate is in our hands. Hmm? So, surrealism. I read that book and I said, there is God. I was so enthusiastic. I was so excited. And I said, Andre Breton, from now on, is my best friend. It would be a crime not to consider him my best friend that I need to really thank and show gratitude. There's just no way. It's impossible. And then, of course, I read it second time and third time. It's a given. So that means in one sitting, I read this small book 3 to 4 times, cover to cover, and took these mental notes. I took mental notes. I took mental notes. I created the photographic memory, even if I didn't have one. I happened to have one, but I improved it so much just by adding layers and layers and other, what's the word, parallel devices that serves as independent entities. Each one is an entity, meaning that responsible for a region of of inventiveness and uniqueness and originality. So I I found myself trying to implement the fundamentals that begs you not to criticize yourself, to try not to criticize. Definitely not to do it live. Definitely not turn your head back to evaluate what is it that you have already accomplished and what is the extent of the nature of the distance that you managed to devour. And understanding the importance of that momentary victory or momentary victories, or just like all these kind of tiny, minute pauses that uh, create a spatial meaning into the fractions of time where you take a little break, and actually you don't take a little break for the sake of taking a break, and you don't take a break for the sake of taking a little break. No, this desire doesn't exist unless it's a part of an exercise, and that's exactly what I made it out to be, a part of an exercise, and therefore it's legitimate to use it as many and as often as I choose to. So I come with a desire to be a part of a journey. I get a nice kick into the journey itself, mixing it up with what was already that little bit that was available and happening while I was introducing myself. And suddenly, all of a sudden, suddenly, all of a sudden, there is just so many options, so many choices. And you're amazed, especially because you realize that it doesn't bother you and that you're going to choose something. You're going to choose something fast. You're not going to allow time to go by too fast and too much and too long. You're going to make a decision, and you're going to make a decision in a timely fashion. But maybe you wouldn't, because obviously it's your call, it's your emphasis, it's your um, initiation, and it's your kind of go aheadness in the pursuit of I want to say pursuit of happiness, but pursuit of that which carries a happy demeanor and therefore can perform wonders and magic in that back and forth that creates a straight line like a ruler, and that you can actually maybe see the horizon in a clearer fashion. It's focused, and you're very intrigued that indeed that's the case. So, coming from abstract expressionism vis-a-vis impressionism, as modernism evolves around it like a vortex, marching slowly but surely into the world of surrealism, surreal And then you have the awareness of how you can actualize and tame the wild aspect of that kind of full body motion, endless unconditional amount of material that's waiting to be deciphered for the sake of the process that guarantees us not only the magic of storytelling, the unfoldingness of that storytelling, and that ability to bring it about to make it a story, a story with story. It's like, and then of course, I had my difficult moments, but I had my drum set always next to me there, and I always thought like, um, I always thought, how can I accept that which is cliche into my life, and especially into the process that's taking place that happen to be artistic and experimental and vibrant and whatnot, um, in when everything is happening and taking place, nothing really awaits an answer. No question was asked because the involvement is so complete and so purified, and you immediately instantly feel ridiculed, uh, uh, as soon as you open your mouth in order to ask that which you're better off not. You're better off not to. So I always had the drums there staring at me. And I love my drums. Like, yeah, what camaraderie, what friendship, what friendship. Oof, fantastic. So I I want to externalize um my dead end. So it will so the amount that I will send forth probably will lose half of its contents by way of reduction of velocity. So when it comes back to me, it comes half the amount. So it frees me. So because half of the amount that I've released that's coming back is not there, now I have a longer breath. Now I can entertain things that otherwise I couldn't because there's no space. The time is not right, but here everything worked just fine. So so it was the recollection of camaraderie, the recollection of camaraderie, that which is camaraderie of recollections, and it was just so basic. Da 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 dee da 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 dee da. Da 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 dee dee da da dee da. 1, 2, 3, 4. Da dee da da dee da 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 dee da da. Dee da 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 dee da da dee da da da. And then obviously this 25 seconds that I just did is a formidable canvas. If you were to be able to implement on the surface, probably would be like 3 to 4 layers that will equal the 25-30 seconds of that which I was doing, externalizing my friendship with rhythm. And but do we know about it? And if we know about it, are we willing? Are we believing that we're capable of jumping in the fashion that we think is the right one, and instantly being not about being accepted? It won't be like denied access. So it becomes more of like 2, 3, 4, and it's like it's going 2, 3, 4. It's like this is a kind of brush stroke. So there's something about it. You know what? When you're alone in the studio, you can do these things without feeling ridiculous. because there's no one there. No one is observing you except yourself. No one is bothering you. You don't hear any voice other than yours. You don't even hear any heartbeat other than yours. You're just like you yourself and you. Now let me remind you, the world depends on the actualization of attempts mixed with desire to become a part of this kind of process, to actually start creating and make something out of nothing and make something that will come at the end of the day. Outcome, as the outcome, this comes out. As the outcome, this comes out. As the outcome, this comes out. It's there suddenly. It's a force to be reckoned with. It wasn't there before. It's there now. So you find yourself actually appreciative. Wait a second. Let me see if what I feel like I need and should do all the time, always. And maybe in this case, it's not necessary, and I don't need to do to this, and I don't need to go there. And it doesn't mean that I don't need to allow myself to enjoy it. So you realize, you realize that this is your lesson. This is your practice. This is the time you put into it so you can find yourself in the territory where usually you would never think you would end up, because this is a language that you don't know much about, so you wouldn't want to step and steer and accelerate and point out there, because you know better off not to go there. But now you're there and you're fully broken in, and you take your strength and you actualize it. Let's say in my case, I feel the drums and music is my strength, my number one. Even though I feel like if I want to name myself, call myself anything when it comes to art, is I can show some mighty capabilities. I can create some nasty paintings and collages. I mean, I can do that. I know for a fact, for sure, that I can do that. I did it many times, and it's meaningful, and it's from the heart. It's with passion. It's with rhythm. It's with love. It's with friendship. It's not like a compromise. Nothing of which tells you, oh, you compromised here, and if you think it looks good, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. This is a situation where it's good, you know it's good. There's no second thoughts. You don't contemplate. You don't say, is it? Isn't it? It is. So surrealism sends you on that wave to explore. Where else would it be? What else would it be to do? And it tells you, don't turn your head. Not now, in this crucial moment. When you create, when you write. When you write and your words make this flag of ours wavy, and it expresses itself in ways that are to be expected, because that is that thing, that is what it is that you know about yourself that make this a reasonable outcome that you can accept and understand, and also utilize as someone you can use as a point of reference, or as a viable coding, as a viable beefing up material, or much more meaningful than that. But in our heads, we take both that technical, trivial, equal to that philosophical, religious, virtues, values, you know, the creme de la creme of philosophy and psychology. And surrealism tells you about expressionism and impressionism and modernism and primitive modernism and then impressionistic expressionism, abstractive impressionism, through expressionism abstract, expressionistic abstract vis-a-vis the impressionism uh, uh, timeline. And but then surrealism is telling you, I will hold the flag for you. focus so you can make that thing, this cloth, wave for as long as and as hard as one would think that is needed and necessary. But you're um, accompanying the significance of every step of the way. So here I am. I think it was 1995. No, I think it was 1992. I picked up that book, The Manifesto of Surrealism by André Breton, and I read that and I said, I really said, F me. And then I read it again. I said, F me. And I read it the third time and I said, F me. And then I read it the fourth time and I said, this is sweet. So now I don't know myself from myself, because the fourth and the fifth time that I read it, I realized this is sitting in my pocket as my companion now. This is that which is sitting in my pocket from the world that I acquired, or reality or experience that I acquired from surrealism, is there to stay. It recognized what materials, what is it that I'm consisted of, the kind of materials that I'm consisted of is something that appeals to them, that means something that they know very clearly. It leaves no doubt. And it's all about the fluency and the continuity. And so that's why when you have a musical instrument at your disposal, you 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 can hold on to it. I do that, and I can think about the rhythm and the solo and everything, but I don't abandon the whole layout of the story of that which was created today, you know, vis-a-vis my attempt to understand better and better the nature of surrealism. And so, and then you just like you you form you form a friendship. This is friendship. When you count, it's a friendship. So you, this is confidence when you know that you know 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. So it's like it's still, you know, you're any which way you look at it, experience it, hold it, take it, send it, it's all within the realm that you put in place. The swirls, the vortex, and I say vortex because I always imagine that actually that motion creates the color. So I don't know, I never put that red there. Suddenly there's red and blue, and I never put that light green there. But there's light green, and I never saw these three shades of orange, and suddenly here they are, because you're allowing it by allowing access to these sensations and feelings closer here. So therefore, you're reassured that you can do whatever gesture and whatever kind of physical adaptation, but still the count is there. Da 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 da. So you feel that, and this is your composition, and suddenly it goes to the canvas. This is really how it is. This is the drums. It can be the piano, and it can be the guitar, and then it can be the saxophone, it can be the drum, and no matter what it is, suddenly you lift it and you put it right there, vertical, horizontal, flat on the wall, and then, but it doesn't stop, because now it comes to you. You send to it, and it comes to you. So it's that, you know, it's like 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2, and that's 2 4 6 8 2 4. So this is what it's all about. Now, look, what did I just do now? I did probably 90 seconds of that. This kind of last 90 seconds, 120 seconds. And I already feel that my hands and my forearms are fortified. I don't recall because I before this happens, you never think that you can accomplish so much in such a short time. Well, when you allow yourself to go through 2 minutes, and when you allow yourself to go through 2 minutes of something substantial, something new that you want to get to know a little more about its nature, you realize how much 2 minutes, i.e., 120 seconds, uh, is all about. How much it serves as a contributor, a contribution that is second to none. Unbelievable. And it's been implemented already. That means those first crucial important layers, i.e. steps, are being accomplished. So that means by the time you're aware of what it is that you were involved in and did, it's already a mechanism in place ready to serve. I had the word to use the word serve, but in a good way. Because even the process itself knows to what extent you had to go and what kind of brilliance has to be erupting in place in order for revelation like this to become evident. It knows there's mutual respect. I have sometimes a feeling, well, I mean, I bump into some people sometimes and they tell me, some tell me, I went to one of your shows. This is about 15 years ago. And they start describing to me what it is that remained with them. And I know in these instances how right I was in my estimation and the decision making process to create or not to create a lot or a little uh, as a way of describing my own future to me. It was just like unbelievable. So, in addition to that, it's a great feeling to be able to sit in place with some kind of a plan. It can be a vague plan. It doesn't have to be a precise plan, as long as there's goodwill in place. That willingness to cope with the desire. There's so many desires that never ever become real or true because there's no willingness that needs to take place on the behalf of someone for that to be actualized. And I guess I'll leave it at that because I'm running out of time. But so to get to that point of actualization, whew, what a victory. And just wanted to communicate with you. Thank you for listening. We're going to be here tomorrow as much as we were here yesterday and as much as we're here this afternoon of Monday afternoon, September 18th, year 2023, here with the Hello Hello Show. And my name is Haim Mizrahi. Continue with the tradition of public access and the tradition of the Hello Hello Show that's been on the air since 1980. God bless. We love you. And you know that.